All praises to the Most High, Haba Hashem Yahushua, through His Son, Yahushua Mashiach Osana. I just want to get into some of the greatness of the so-called black men. This might be a continuing series. How great the so-called black man can be in his right mind. I'm gonna start this off with one of the greatest kings, King Solomon. And to just put just key attributes and certain things that the king did, using the complete works by Josephus as a backbone for some of these, and some of the things we already know, using the scriptures and historical retelling. So I want to say I am black as the tents of Kedar. That's what Solomon said in Songs of Solomon 1:5. You look up what the tents of Kedar look like, To the complete works of Josephus, this is page 264, chapter 5, about King Solomon. How Solomon built himself a royal palace, very costly and splendid, and how he solved the riddles which were sent to him by Hiram. After the building of the temple, as we have said before, was finished in 7 years, and the king laid the foundation of his palace, which he did not finish under 13 years, for he was not equally zealous in the building of this palace as he had been about the temple. For as to that, though it was a great work and required wonderful, surprising application, yet the Most High Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, for whom it was made, so far cooperated therewith, that it was finished in the forementioned number of years. But the palace, which was a building much inferior in dignity to the temple, of both on account that its materials and had not been so long beforehand and gotten ready, nor had been so zealously prepared, and on account that this was only a habitation for kings and not for the Most High Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, was longer in finishing. So Josephus is describing that Solomon, King Solomon of the tribe of Yahweh, didn't have a need or care to how long it would have taken him to build this palace, because his first main concern when he got into power was a part of some of the contracts or the covenant with him and the Most High, which was building, the covenant that was passed down to David, through David to him, which is to build the high place, which was called the temple for the Most High. However, this building was raised so magnificently as suited the happy state of the Hebrews and the king thereof, but it is necessary that I describe the entire structure and disposition of the parts, that so those that lie upon this book may thereby make conjecture, as it were have a prospect of its magnitude. This house was a large and curious building, and was supported by many pillars, which King Solomon built to contain a multitude for hearing causes and talking, a cognizance of suits. It was sufficiently capacious to contain a great body of men who would come together to have their causes determined. It was 100 cubits long and 50 broad and 30 high, supported by quadrangular pillars which were of all cedar or kedar wood, but its roofs was according of was according to the Corinthian order, with folding doors, and the adjoining pillars of equal magnitude, each fluted with 3 cavities, which building was at once firm and very ornamental. There was there was at once firm, and there was also another house so ordered that its entire breadth was placed in the middle. It was quadrangular, and its breadth was 30 cubits, and having a temple over against it, raised upon massy pillars. In which temple there was a large and very glorious room, wherein the king sat in judgment. To this was joined another house that was built for his queen. It's just describing a little bit of the greatness that surrounded the palace of King Solomon. So Josephus goes on to say, there were other small edifices for diet and for sleep and after public matters were over, and these were all floored with boards of cedar or kedar wood. Some of these Solomon built with stones of 10 cubits, and wainscoted the walls with other stones that were sawed and were of great value, such as are dug out of the earth for the ornament of temples, and to make fine prospects in royal palaces, which make the mines whence they are dug famous. Now the texture of the curious workmanship of these stones was in 3 rows, but the fourth row would make one admire a sculpture whereby were represented were represented trees and all sorts of plants with the shades that arose from their branches, and leaves that hung down from them. Those trees and plants covered the stone that was beneath them, and their leaves were wrought so prodigious, thin, and subtle that you would think they were in motion. But the other part of the but the other part up to the roof was plastered over, and it were embroidered with colors and pictures. He moreover built other edifices for pleasure, as also very long cloisters, and those situate in an agreeable place of the palace, and among them a most glorious dining room for feastings and competitions, and full of gold and such other furniture as so fine a room ought to have for the conveniency of guests, and where all the vessels were made of gold. Now it is very hard to reckon upon the magnitude and the variety of the royal apartments, how many rooms there were of the larger sort, how many of the bigness of the inferior to those, and how many that were subterraneous and invisible, and curiosity, and those that enjoyed the fresh air and the groves for the most delightful prospect, for avoiding the heat and covering of their bodies. And to say all in brief, Solomon made the whole building entirely of white stone and cedar wood and gold and silver. He also adorned the roofs and walls with stone and set in gold, and beautified them thereby in the same manner as he beautified the temple of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, like stones. He also made himself a throne prodigious bigness, of ivory constructed as a seat of justice, and having 6 steps to it, and every one which stood on each end of the step, 2 lions and 2 other lions standing above also by the sitting place of the by the sitting place of the throne. Hands came out and received the king, and when he sat backward, he rested on a half a bullock that looked onwards towards his back, but still all this was fastened together with gold. You know, this shows the creativity of the so-called black man in his right mind, but it shows you the creativity and, you know, how much gifts and blessings that King Solomon received from the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. You know, we're gonna continue this in part 2.